Once upon a time, back when I dotted my eyes with circles, when I was a little girl thinking big dreams, my pencil would always gravitate towards stories with two bodies. I'd write couples into existence, united by an overseas quest for love or some other grand rendezvous, for two always seemed better than one. For happiness always seemed richer when shared with a partner. All the fairy tales ended in marriage anyway. I'd watch Snow White ride her horse along the ridge of a mountain, her prince alongside her. And I'd write my own fairy tales, just to live in the written moments. Maybe it's because I had no real memories to write off of. I had never been a maiden caught in a castle, hair so long and so strong it could carry the weight of a human body. I had never been in a pretend relationship with someone only to fall in love by proximity and be carried off into the sunset. I had never loved someone in their entirety, so much so as to give myself to them. And yet I never tried to achieve those things, outside of dreams shaped like sentences and an imagination as wide as my vocabulary. But I wrote it like love would solve all problems. Because to me, it felt like love would solve all problems. It was a feeling, an experience I wanted so badly. If they said it was written in the stars, I would write the stars too. But I never wrote fights, tribulations, long nights of confusion and miscommunication. My pencil didn't describe falling out of love. My small mind couldn't fathom how sometimes poison apples come from Snow White or Prince Charming themselves. So when reality came, on her high horse, bearing generous gifts of love and fairy tales, I was in for a surprise. Love is a lot sharper than I had imagined. It's bumpy and odd and not always reciprocated. But there is beauty to be found in the parts that fairy tales leave out. I still write, but no longer dashing, daring things, superhero capes and maidens needing saving. I write the small moments, ones that I would have found boring before. Even though I no longer dot my I's with circles or think dreams nearly as big, I will always be that little girl, looking for fairy tale and reality like one searches a night sky, holding onto bits of Snow White like treasured constellations in our narrative, like the way hands fit together, like the way late-night conversations inevitably lead to tangled limbs and intertwining breaths, like the way it feels to stand under the gaze of someone who is willing to take you in for all your imperfections. You may not be a prince, or charming to anyone else but me. And still, the moments you make are better than the ones I leave on paper. So much so that fantasy equates reality, and I can put my pencil down after nearly 2 decades of writing to live in this world rather than one built on paragraphs. But not before quickly reaching over, scribbling in the margins of our narrative. And they lived happily ever